Welcome everyone to Dharma Conversations. So we're back this week after starting the series on the history of the Congress Party of Sandeep Balakrishna. And like we've done in the past, we have decided in this episode to take a break from that series and talk to Sandeep about the absolutely provocative, baseless, irresponsible speech that Rahul Gandhi made after becoming the LOP in the parliament. While it has caused outrage, and rightfully so, I think there are several dimensions and implications to where this is headed, and that's where I'd like to bring in Sandeep Balakrishna and his point of view on how this plays out from a civilizational standpoint. What does it import? How does it eventually play out in terms of the consequences to Bharat? I think it's important to get Sandeep's perspective on how this will play out and what is the historical context of this. So with that, let's get started with Sandeep. Hi Sandeep. I'm sure you also ended up watching the unfortunate speech by Rahul Gandhi, who debuted as an LOP. One wouldn't have expected any better, but this wasn't expected. I think all red lines have been breached. So what are your initial thoughts on the actual content of what he uttered in the parliament? And then we'll get into what dimensions it outlines as to where this is headed in the future.
Hi Parag. Well, it's the way you frame the context, the way you set the tone for this podcast. One key takeaway is that you said what Rahul did in the parliament yesterday was totally unexpected. No. The one word answer to this question is an emphatic no. It was entirely on expected lines, and it is part of his generational legacy of his dynasty. But before we get into this, if I have to sum up, this is, like I said, it is a continuation of, the Congress dynasty, the Nehru dynasty's template, which worked beautifully for 55 years non-stop. So if I have to sum up the full essence of 70 years of total Congress rule, it is this: a nation that confounds its scholars with its warriors will have its laws made by cowards and its wars fought by fools. This is timeless wisdom by the great Greek philosopher named Thucydides. This is exactly what the Congress party in action. While Rahul Gandhi is not in power, they lost power long back, but specifically Rahul Gandhi, who debuted as an MP about 25 years back, from then till now, he's never tasted power. As a sitting minister, as an official, anything.
In any capacity.
Any constitutional position, he has never tasted power. And the chances of his tasting power, I'm sure this NDA government will complete its full term. The chances of Rahul Gandhi ever tasting power has been pushed by another 5 years. So that makes it a sum total of 15 years not in power. This one individual. Okay. Yet, this man continues to uphold the vilest traditions, the ugliest legacy of his family, his dynasty. What is notable, Parag, is that the pathetic 99 seats that the Congress party won, that seems to have given some kind of a newfound swagger to Rahul Gandhi, and which in turn is part of the old Congress template. A lot of people who might not be aware, of how the Congress behaved, or Indira Gandhi and her coterie behaved when she was thrown out of power after the elections, after emergency, will testify. Too many people know how she behaved in parliament back then.
So can you dwell on that for a minute? An example of how she behaved.
No, the usual mudslinging.
Inside, on the floor of the parliament?
On the floor of parliament. Mudslinging, diversionary tactics, and painting herself as a martyr, blaming the Janata government, branding them as foreign agents, this kind of thing.
Okay. The tactics.
Same tactics.
Same tactics.
I'll expand that on
Yeah.
in the Congress Party series. So, but this is the only game that the Congress knows and has known all along. Okay, so from another perspective, what this kind of game, it's actually a great psychological game. If I have to put it in a simplified fashion, what Rahul Gandhi has done, what Rajiv Gandhi did, Indira Gandhi did, Nehru did, what all they did was they are very good at projecting perception. Building and then projecting perception and constantly thrusting it, advertising it, tom-tomming it everywhere. Now, in Rahul Gandhi's case, look at the way he is projecting defeat as a triumph. Ever since the results were announced, 99 seats was, which is what, 3 times less than what the BJP has got.
Yeah, and the total of all last 3 elections, the Congress seats don't add up to 240,
Exactly.
which is what BJP won in this third election.
Right. So the total of the so-called India alliance doesn't even have a stab at power at the magic figure 272. But look at the way how he's projecting the whole thing. Like, his great loss is some kind of a great victory. And like I said, on this specific note, we spoke about this in a previous episode. It was a big mistake on the BJP's part not to cut off the head of the serpent when they had power, time, energy and resources at hand.
So just stay with this. Yes. So when you contested that this was not expected, I think I think it's okay for somebody like me and many regular citizens who think it was unexpected, undignified. But evidently, if you look at the presser that Ashwini Vaishnav in his new capacity as the Minister of Information Broadcasting said, he's degraded the position of LOP. The fact that the governing party still had those expectations from him, is a little worrying because I get your point, and I feel
the point is you can't play decent, you can't play by the rules with this kind of an opposition, boss.
Exactly. So we'll come to that.
You know how the last great frontier hero of Bharatavarsha, his name was Maharaja Jayapala Deva. He fought several battles against Mahmud of Ghazni and his father Sabuktigin, and he beat them decisively. But in the final round, you know how he was defeated. He played by the rules of the Hindu code of war ethics.
War ethics.
On the other side, Mahmud, didn't bother about any rules. He made up those rules as he went along. So the army of Jayapala Deva was subjected to, Mahmud and his soldiers. They would throw bucket loads of human shit and then they would advance women and children. So in the Hindu code of war ethics, women
never attack women and children. Yeah.
And cows and temples
are spared.
Are spared. Okay. So how do you deal with this? This is the same mentality. There are no rules, there's no decency, there's nothing.
So it's actually the Ghazni playbook playing out in many ways. If you look at
throughout.
Shaheen Bagh itself, in more recent memory, Shaheen Bagh was that.
Throughout.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Who killed that cop in Delhi? Women, no?
Yeah, exactly.
They pretty much surrounded him, trapped him, and then,
the violence in Nuh and Haryana was initiated by women.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So this is a whole point. You can't play by these, decent and ethical rules with an enemy like this.
Yeah. And to borrow war terminology, you cannot play symmetric war in asymmetric
conditions.
theatre, right?
Absolutely. Of all the things that, this crown prince in waiting, Mr. Rahul Gandhi said yesterday in Parliament, it was not at all coincidental that he picked a subject he knows absolutely nothing at all about, which is Sanatana Dharma, Hindu Dharma. And I never, for the life of me, I never thought I'd live to see a day when this great sacred nation would be subjected to lessons in Sanatana Dharma by someone like Rahul Gandhi. And where did he deliver these alleged lessons? In the Indian Parliament, the same Parliament which had witnessed, hundreds of scholarly debates for years upon years by stalwarts like Rajagopalachari, Radhakrishnan, P.V. Kane, people of that caliber.
Luminaries, yeah.
Luminaries, and in the same Indian Parliament, they would, eloquently speak for hours and days upon days.
Elevate the discourse, right?
On a range of topics, including Vedanta, Bhagavad Gita, Dharmashastra, Plato's Republic, Gladstone's, parliamentary heritage, this kind of thing. This was the standard of parliamentary debate. Today, you have someone like Rahul Gandhi doing this. This tomfoolery, absolute trash. And this itself, this downfall has occurred. A lot of people are still alive who have witnessed those days. They'd be nearing about 100 years of age. But this downfall has occurred before their own eyes.
In their lifetime, in their own lifetime.
In their own lifetime.
I mean, seen the standards they set fall to such abysmal levels. Yeah.
So you see,
tragic.
Very tragic. I mean, it's cruel. It's
cruel.
Not just tragic. It's
cruel.
It's violent, and it is also a great pointer to something else. A very, very fundamental corrosion. It is a pointer to the living truth. It's a pointer to the everyday truth that we are all experiencing, that Hindu Dharma has no place in the parliament of the very country and civilization which it built.
When you put it like this, it is devastating.
But it is true.
I'm not
it is true.
saying it's not true. Yeah.
And, what is also important here is that a lot of stalwarts of the freedom struggle, scholars, experts and luminaries from almost all walks of life, all disciplines, all fields, a lot of these eminences and people who drafted our constitution, they had foreseen this erosion of Hindu Dharma right in 1947 when the constitution was being drafted.
They had foreseen this.
They had foreseen this. I can give several examples, but one debate that has deeply impacted me, I'll quote from that.
Please.
It was a speech delivered by a great man named Sri Loknath Mishra. He later became the member of parliament after freedom. And he was also a member of the Constituent Assembly. And in the Constituent Assembly debates, he said these words on Monday, 6th December 1948. So this is what Sri Loknath Mishra said, and I quote, very beautiful. Sir, it has been repeated to our ears that ours is a secular state. I accepted this secularism in the sense that our state shall remain unconcerned with religion, and I thought that the secular state of partitioned India was the maximum of generosity of a Hindu-dominated territory for its non-Hindu population. Gradually, it seems to me that our secular state is a slippery phrase, a device to bypass the ancient culture of this land. The absurdity of this position is now manifest in Articles 19 to 22 of this constitution, of the draft constitution. Do we really believe that religion can be divorced from life? Or is it our belief that in the midst of many religions, we cannot decide which one to accept? If religion is beyond the ken of the state, let us clearly say so and delete all references to rights relating to religion. If we find it necessary, let us be brave enough and say what it should be. Meaning, what you will replace when you delete this.
Exceptional clarity. Loknath Mishra.
Continue. This unjust generosity of tabooing religion and yet making propagation of religion a fundamental right is somewhat uncanny and dangerous. Justice demands that the ancient faith and culture of this land should be given a fair deal, if not restored to its legitimate place after 1,000 years of suppression.
Perfect.
Hinduism did not accept barricades for its protection. Hinduism is just an integrated vision and a philosophy of life and cosmos expressed in organized society to live that philosophy in peace and amity. But Hindu generosity has been misused and politics has overrun Hindu culture. I'll repeat that. Hindu generosity has been misused and politics has overrun Hindu culture. Today, religion in India serves no higher purpose than collecting ignorance, poverty and ambition under a banner that flies for fanaticism.
Brilliant.
This was in 1948.
December 6th.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Continue. To my mind, Vedic culture excludes nothing. In the present context, what can this word propagation in Article 19 mean? It can only mean paving the way for the complete annihilation of Hindu culture, the Hindu way of life and manners. Close quote.
What clarity, and what sense of the future that he displayed.
Look at Rahul Gandhi in action today and see how there is a one-to-one match with Loknath Mishra's prediction.
Actually, this raises so many fundamental questions that Article 19 is actually in conflict with what started off. The Hinduism is the only non-proselytizing religion.
Yeah.
Whereas it is allowed.
Yeah.
Under the garb of secularism.
Yes. So you see at what all levels the damage has occurred, Parag. Like I said, this was not unexpected at all. What Rahul Gandhi did really was to insult Sanatana Dharma through his pathetic ignorance of it. Also, simultaneously, to humiliate and mock Hindus. Here's a question that nobody has asked so far, at least to my knowledge. This is a question. When was the last time anybody asked Rahul Gandhi what religion he practices? Even if it's Christianity, it is okay. When was the last time anybody asked what religion he practices?
It needs to be asked and he needs to answer.
And when was he asked what exactly he stands for?
And evidently
these are fundamental questions, Parag.
Absolutely.
All the surround sound and all kinds of noise in the public space, social media, everywhere, they are created precisely to, avoid asking these basic fundamental questions. Nobody knows what Rahul Gandhi stands for. Nobody knows what religion he practices, if at all he practices anything at all. What values, what ideas he stands for. You know what, Parag? The atrocious, the horrific insults that he has heaped on Sanatana Dharma is the oral version of all his serial temple runs, his, ostentatious wearing of tilak and kumkum and even wearing the yagnopavita over his shirt. Those were practical insults. This is the oral insult that he delivered in Parliament. Remember, we did an earlier podcast where, I mentioned that this enmity against Hindu Dharma, Hindu society, all its components, is in the very DNA of the Nehru dynasty. So, Parag, let me give you just two random examples that clearly illustrate, that clearly show the level of contempt that the Nehru dynasty had for Hindu society, Hindu customs, Hindu traditions, Hindu Dharma. This is an incident that occurred with Nawab Nehru. And Sitaram Goelji, he has documented this in a very eye-opening fashion in one of his books. And I'll quote it from that book, a couple of lines. So the year is 1948 and the place is Delhi. And Sitaram Goel is, having a conversation with an American journalist who is his friend. And this American journalist is seething with anger against Nawab Nehru. And this is what he tells Sitaram Goel. He says, Sita, who does this man think he is? Almighty God? Sitaram Goel asks him, who? What happened? The American journalist told him the story of some sadhus who had sat down on an indefinite fast near Pandit Nehru's residence in New Delhi, and they were seeking an assurance from him that cow slaughter would be stopped now, since that the beef-eating British had departed. If you love India, this is how you will analyze it.
Yeah, and a fair ask, absolutely fair ask.
Since the British had departed, there's no need for eating beef.
It is not an indigenous
this
habit.
This is freedom.
Yes.
This is real freedom, Parag. Okay. And then the American journalist tells him, I had gone there to take some pictures and write a report. But what I saw was a horror for me. As I was talking to one of the sadhus who knew some English, this man rushed out of his house accompanied by his sister Vijayalakshmi Pandit. Both of them were shouting something in Hindi. The poor sadhus were taken by surprise and stood up. Nehru slapped the sadhu who had moved forward with folded hands. His sister did the same. Then both of them disappeared as fast as they had come. The sadhus did not utter so much as a word in protest, not even after the duo had left. They had taken it all as if it was a normal thing. Close quote. This was our first Prime Minister. Any surprises? Why Rahul spoke the way he
No,
did?
no. Yeah, so I think, in a sense, he's a diluted form. No, it's just the. One can only be aghast, and it's thanks to you that some of these historical aspects are coming to light. And I think clearly we're paying the price for ignoring history.
Episode 2 occurs during the regime of Desh Ki Mata, Durga Devi, Srimati Indira Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi's grandmother. So this lady once decides to visit the famous Jagannath temple in Puri, Odisha. And there are strict observances, social customs, traditions which have been held sacred for time immemorial. To quote a related example related to this context, the prohibition against menstruating women visiting Swami Ayyappa's temple. So Indira Gandhi, when she decided to visit the Puri Jagannath temple, was denied permission. Then she obviously got the whole might of the state to barge her way inside. Then at that time, wherever this man is, this saint is, our namans to him. The Puri Shankaracharya of that time, his name is Anantashri Niranjana Devatirtha. He is a predecessor of the current Shankaracharya of Puri. So this great Shankaracharya, he defied her. He said, I will not allow you to enter this temple at any cost. And when she, tried to use force with her guards or whatever, he slept on the threshold of the temple and said, I dare you to cross my body and enter the temple. She left. At least she had that decency.
Yeah, surprising.
Okay. This is...
So where are those warriors?
So you see, sir, Parag, this is the DNA of the Nehru Khandan.
Yeah, but what is also coming out is where are those warriors gone?
Well, we'll do a separate episode on this. I'll tell you where they've gone. Honestly, the two key elements in Rahul Gandhi's ignorant and arrogant speech in Parliament yesterday, I have to mention. The first, Parag, in all honesty, I really consider it beneath my dignity and decency to rebut this guy, but I'm doing it in the interest of service to Hindu Samaj and this great country. So Rahul's erudite sermon on various aspects related to Hindu Dharma essentially hinges on three things. We look at that in order. One, his atrocious claim that Hindus are violent, which is beneath contempt. So I don't think we need any more commentary. That is the one thing that actually generated such outrage from the PM and the Home Minister and other BJP members. So I don't think we need to expand more on that. It is part of the same narrative that was set by the British colonial narrative. It's the kind of picture that they painted of the Hindu society. So it's part of the same thing. It's a variant of that colonial narrative. Second was Rahul's mention of Sanatana Dharma's defining traits, that Hindu Dharma is only about ahimsa and tolerance and harmony and all those nice sounding words. Even here, Rahul Gandhi is not stating anything terribly new or original. This nonsense of reducing Hindu Dharma into just non-violence, ahimsa and tolerance has proven to be one of the greatest weapons to disarm and defang.
Neuter, it's actually neutering.
Correct, that is the word. To neuter the Hindu society. Okay. The levels they've
One
gone,
must give it to them.
Yeah. We can do a series on this. This kind of narrative has a history of about a century.
Easily.
If not more.
Yeah.
Okay. And its prime culprit of, this kind of reductionist reading of Sanatana Dharma as just ahimsa and tolerance. Okay. The prime culprit for seeding this narrative is a man named Mohandas Gandhi.
Yes.
And another man named Bhagavan Das. Clearly and obviously, quite obviously, Rahul Gandhi extols Mohandas Gandhi, no surprise. But ahimsa is not a standalone virtue. Non-violence is a relative virtue. It's a relative value. It needs the force of arms to safeguard it. It's as simple as that. The non-violence of a coward means nothing. Okay, it's like this young man who goes to his wedding night armed with nothing but a book of Kama Sutra and no equipment. Okay, it's as simple as that. And as for tolerance and harmony and peace and all the goody things, Rahul Gandhi and Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi's brand of tolerance is synonymous with cowardice.
It is.
And the history of, add to this, the virus called secularism. The history of this Gandhian definition of Sanatana Dharma and the history of Indian secularism is the best proof of this. Hindus have been undoubtedly the biggest and the most numerous victims of secularism and tolerance.
And sadly, it has continued since 2014.
Yeah. Escalated, in fact.
Escalated. Yeah, actually, yeah. Correct.
So, the third point, and this is the most important point, Parag, what is really astounding was how Rahul Gandhi spoke absolute garbage about Bhagavan Shiva. Okay, waving the picture of Bhagavan Shiva in parliament, wearing chappals and shoes, really? Okay, not dressed appropriately. Where is this tilak now?
Where is this tilak?
Where is this tilak?
Exactly.
Where is this Yagnopavita?
Yeah.
Brandishing that, picture of Bhagavan Shiva. But when I listened to it, it was both amusing and, my blood was really boiling, to be honest. Watching him explain the symbolism of Shiva, of all people, Rahul Gandhi.
Of all people, exactly.
Of all people. He's talking about the symbolism of Shiva. And, it's clear that this guy has taken lessons from people like Shashi Tharoor, who suddenly rediscovered his Hindu Dharma and wrote a couple of books on that in these last 10 years anyway. So, it's quite rich, to listen to this fellow say with a straight face that the sarpa, the snake around Mahadeva's neck symbolizes fearlessness, or it stands for a symbol of facing danger directly. But what this poor boy Rahul Gandhi does not know is the fact that Mahadeva, it was only Mahadeva among all deities who swallowed hala hala, the deadly poison, which is permanently lodged in his throat.
Neelakantha.
Okay, Neelakantha. Okay. And in fact, hala hala was the first thing to emerge during the Amrita Manthana. The Amrit came much later. The poison came first. You look at the, beautiful symbolism and the layers of philosophy hidden in this one story.
Absolutely deep.
And here is a man who speaks about these things.
On the floor of parliament.
On the floor of parliament. And in fact, Shiva Tattva, in all of Sanatana Dharma's corpus, Shiva Tattva is one of the most central and one of the most profound philosophical meditations to ever emerge from the genius of Bharatavarsha. And even in all of world philosophy, nowhere do you see Shiva Tattva like this. Not even close in any culture. It's not just Shiva as a standalone deity. Shiva comes with a parivar. Okay. This Shiva parivara, among other things, it shows the the grand cosmic unity like nothing else does. The same serpent that, Rahul Gandhi spoke, thundered about. You know what the serpent means? The serpent around Shiva's neck is the food for the vehicles of Shiva's son, Skanda, whose vehicle is a peacock. In turn, the mouse is the food of the vehicle of Shiva's other son, Ganesha. What does Ganesha symbolize? He has the head of an elephant. Elephant sitting on a tiny animal like the mouse. You see where all these things lead. Okay. And Ganga Mata is locked inside the matted hair of Shiva. Where does she originate from? She originates in the Himalaya. Himalaya is the father-in-law of Shiva, Parvati's father. Ma Parvati's father.
So clearly he's missed his schooling, but the fact that he got away with this is where the issue is.
I will come to that. Okay. And then this great eminence, leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, also talks about Ishvara's Trishula or the trident.
Yeah, I wanted you to talk about it. Yes.
Among other things, the 3 points in the trident, tips in the trident, it symbolizes consciousness. Jagrat, which is the waking state or wakeful state. Swapna, which is the sleep or dreaming state. And Sushupti, which is also known as Turiya, which transcends both the sleep and the wakeful states. Okay. Sushupti in turn, philosophically, a constant immersion in the state of Sushupti leads to Brahmananda. I'm simplifying it, but this is the gist of this tattva. Okay, and as the deity who wields the trident, Trishula, Shiva is above all these states. He is also the upholder of these states of consciousness. Okay, this is the whole way, the whole symbolism of the Trishul. Okay, and there is an other level at which this philosophy of Trishula operates, symbolism. The Trishula also destroys the 3 problems of every human life. The problem occurring at the level of the Adi Bhautika or the physical level. The second is the Adi Daivika, meaning a belief in God, faith in a personal deity, these things. And finally, the Adhyatmika or the spiritual level. Okay, the trident is a weapon that destroys these 3 problems. And after this, the great Rahul Gandhi also speaks about the mudras of Shiva. Specifically
Abhaya
the Abhaya Mudra. Okay, let's not get into, videos are available of his nonsense about this Abhaya Mudra. It's really quite amazing. It's hard for me to control my passion as I'm talking. But anyway, this man, this leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, he equates the Abhaya Mudra of Shiva with the Congress party's election symbol. It's really quite amazing, Parag. What the poor boy doesn't know, the overgrown teenager doesn't know, is that every single Hindu deity, take anything, male or female, every single Hindu deity is characterized by the Abhaya Mudra. Abhaya means A plus Bhaya, which means dispelling fear, giving reassurance and security. What Rahul also doesn't know is the fact that every deity has 2 aspects at the same time, like 2 sides of the same coin, which is Bhaya and Abhaya. So the trident in Shiva's hand, the Sudarshana Chakra in Vishnu's hand, the veil, the spear in Kartikeya or Subramania's hand, okay, all these things, they symbolize these 2 sides of the same coin, Bhaya and Abhaya. In the Bhaya aspect, these weapons, in this case Trishula, it instills fear into evil forces, and at the same time, it provides Abhaya or safety and security for devotees and good people.
And the other side is what has conveniently been whitewashed to what you alluded as neutering.
Yep. And what Rahul ji further doesn't know is the fact that Shiva also has two forms. One is the Shanta or the peaceful form, and the other is the Ghora form or the terrible form. The Shanta form is where he becomes Dakshinamurti, sits in meditation, and teaches the highest philosophical truths in silence. This is the Shanta Mudra. Just one example, there are hundreds, literally hundreds and hundreds of this Shanta aspect of Shiva. And the Ghora or the terrible aspect or form of Shiva is when he opens his third eye. The three eyes symbolize time, past, present and future. Trikala. The Ghora aspect is when he opens the third eye and completely annihilates all of creation and does the Pralaya Tandava. He is dancing after dissolving the world. You know, the philosophical layers are extraordinary.
Absolutely. The depth.
Okay. So these are the two forms of Shiva. I can go on and on, Parag, but I guess we can stop here. I mean, I think this is sufficient to give a brief idea of
this is sheer
scale of ignorance
this is sheer illiteracy and malified intent passing off as abuse on the floor of parliament.
Exactly. No, passing off as some kind of a learned debate in the parliament.
No, it is abuse.
It was abuse.
As a Hindu, I am affronted.
Yeah. And Rahul Gandhi reduces all this profundity to a cheap farce solely in order to score some debating points in parliament. It is his way of saying that, हमने फिर भी BJP को हरा दिया. You see the swagger, the body language and the sheer offensive posturing.
Yeah, absolutely. The body language is absolutely.
And you know what? Despite the nationwide, despite the nationwide and even international outrage that he has faced, Rahul Gandhi, when he was asked by the media people outside, he remains defiant.
So here, Sandeep, I'd like to make a point. I mean, it kind of moves beyond the realm of religious spirituality. This is where I think the judiciary has failed Hindu Dharma, decade after decade. Now, when he called all Modis as thieves, it was slander of a community. He was taken to court. The court convicted him. And eventually the Supreme Court intervened and granted bail. Now, the new laws that have been brought in, because of certain timelines for conviction against every FIR, is now using orchestrated attacks against that with the opposition, because they know it can impact them too. Yeah. But if the conviction was stayed by the Supreme Court, the audacity of this gentleman to take that abuse to the highest level in the parliament, abusing the entire Sanatana Dharma, would not have happened.
He's calling the Hindu community, one entire community,
exactly. So the grounds on which the Supreme Court intervened and gave him bail, the Modi allegation, the Modi community as thieves, is pretty much the same genre. It is more relevant to Gujarat. That's the only difference.
I mean, generalizing, abusing Modi community as a whole, and abusing the Hindu community as a whole. This is that was a microcosm. This is a macrocosm.
Yeah. So if it could have been nipped there, which the Supreme Court very well could have, because it did not uphold the High Court order, he has had a free pass.
He's been having a free pass since ages, but anyway.
Yeah, but if one side is playing by the rules and taking the legal route, the legal fraternity and the judiciary, it is incumbent upon them also to uphold values. That's a separate debate.
No, we all know about the state of the judiciary.
Yeah, I know, but this is where the bottleneck is. This is where the bottleneck is.
It is, yeah.
The elected will is nullified by the unelected judiciary.
Unelected judiciary. Yeah. Unelected,
unaccountable judiciary.
That's the point. But, take it from me, Parag, that he will not stop at this. Absolutely. It will only get worse. And, that is what we should be concerned about. And, I guess that's all I had to say for this episode.
I was reluctant to conclude this discussion with Sandeep because there was much more that Sandeep would have brought out with his study of the lineage of this family that Rahul Gandhi represents. And as with every revelation, the revelation about the sadhus camping outside Pandit Nehru's house and the way he violated them for a fair demand was a shocking revelation to me. I'm sure it is a shocking revelation to many who will watch this. And then the way Sandeep unfortunately brought about the fall, I mean, the degradation in the standards of the parliamentary discourse by quoting Loknath Mishra. And I'm tempted, the first thing I want to do after this is to go look up his debate. And from that level of discourse to what it has been reduced to by this family and the dynasty is absolutely shocking. On that absolutely frustrating and worrying note, we conclude this conversation with Sandeep Balakrishna. So thank you all for joining Dharma Conversations. Please continue watching, sharing, subscribing, and give us your super thanks so that the insight that Sandeep brings reaches a wider audience. Thank you once again.